The least appealing thing I can say about Blair Witch is that it made me feel older than I felt in a movie in a long time. Watching it play out as what amounts to a highly polished tribute to the legacy of the original Blair Witch Project, I'm reminded both that said original really did come out that long ago, and that what to me was just some other indie horror movie I saw in 1999 was a kind of generational touchstone to people slightly younger than me. See, me, I remember the Blair Witch Project mainly as a cultural phenomenon than a movie in its own right. It was a well-executed, low-tech revival of the so-called found footage genre that worked well enough at the time, but what really gave the property legs was a brilliantly staged promotional blitz that had people thinking it was real, and a dizzying whirlwind of fake websites and half-baked mythology that didn't really have anything to do with the film, but made obsessive fans feel like they were part of something. So thanks for inventing that. Now, in a turn of ironic fortune, rather than growing increasingly stale, the franchise promptly pissed away the entirety of that goodwill on an ill-conceived sequel and then took a dirt nap for nearly 2 decades, meaning that this new official follow-up can arrive feeling, at least at first, like a welcome nostalgia trip rather than just another plunge back into the well. Now, in case you forgot, the pretext of the Blair Witch Project is that we're supposedly seeing the last known video footage shot by 3 film students who disappeared in a Maryland forest shooting a documentary about a supposed local witch. The footage showing a strange descent into confusion and paranoia that could have been taken either as visual evidence of a haunting or just 3 people going nuts in the woods. Now, the conceit this time around is that the brother of the original lead character Heather, now grown into an adult, has found new evidence suggesting that his sister is somehow still alive in the woods and has enlisted his friends to help him go looking for more answers, joined at first by a pair of impoverished locals who offer to act as guides. As you may expect, things go badly for them pretty much immediately. And it starts off really promisingly, namely by heavily implying that we're not just getting the first movie again. It's established that our heroes this time are smart and prepared rather than just a bunch of snarky dipshits. They're personally invested and not just dicking around making a cheesy video project. And they're going in prepared with local guides, GPS, cell phones, walkie-talkies, batteries, even a fucking aerial surveillance drone. And that shit got me pumped. I mean, this is a good angle for a Blair Witch sequel. You see, not only are you doing some fun meta-commentary answering everybody's "how come they didn't do this" or "I would have done that" criticisms of the original movie, you're also setting up a scenario where whatever it is in the woods that's going to inevitably fuck with these kids is at least going to have to fuck with them in new ways. You're basically writing yourself into a corner where you can't just make the first movie over again. And then they just kind of make the first movie over again. I mean, yeah, fine, there's a nice twist at the start of Act 2, and the up-to-date video equipment and the drone do get used to keep the visuals lively and interesting, but in terms of actual narrative, the movie gets into "we are lost and all the gear isn't working" territory almost immediately, and then settles into just being a cover set of the Blair Witch Project's greatest hits. Unreliable map, time displacement, scary noises, stickmen, rock piles, face in the camera, spooky house, stand in the corner, was that or wasn't that a witch, lather, rinse, repeat, goodnight Cleveland, there will be no encores. And look, in that regard, it's not bad. In fact, I'd rank it right up there with the original. Clever gag reel, basically works, no earthly reason to ever watch it twice. What overall disappointment I have is that the first act got my hopes up that this was going to expand and build on the Blair Witch foundational concepts into something more interesting. But you've got to review the movie they made and not the movie you'd rather they made. And it's pretty clear that expanding was never part of the mission statement here. This is basically a Blair Witch Project fan film, a tribute to the legacy of a game-changing horror movie by filmmakers who've clearly come up in the shadow of its influence. Hell, they even did their own reversed version of the original promotional hype machine gimmick. They shot this under a fake title calling it The Woods and didn't tell anybody they'd actually made Blair Witch 3 until a couple months ago, so it still would feel like a surprise instead of everybody getting pissed off that there was another Blair Witch movie. Not a bad idea, as it turns out. And within that context of just being, hey, it's the Blair Witch Project, but this time we had money, it basically delivers. All the classic beats and iconography show up, but this time cranked up one extra step. Instead of hearing just noises in the woods, fucking trees fall over. Instead of shaking the tents get yanked up into the damn sky. Instead of just implying possession and influence, we get some Cronenbergian body horror shit. That's fun. The stickmen are back, but this time we see what they're actually for, and it's pretty goddamn cool as it turns out. The scary house feels more expansive and scarier. We see a teeny weeny bit of monster instead of absolutely no monster, and there's even a standout original sequence involving tunnels that is some seriously nerve-wracking shit if you've got even an inkling of claustrophobia, which, I kind of do, so yeah, definitely not watching this shit again. So yeah, it's fun. The writer-director team here is Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett, who are behind the VHS movies, The Guest, and the fucking excellent You're Next, so they've got horror movie chops to spare, and in terms of fairly mid-level hurdle of making a Blair Witch tribute reboot, they pull it off pretty handily. I just wish the movie had more to say or more going on behind it than, hey, remember the Blair Witch Project? That sure was a thing that existed, right? Still, it works, it's fun, worth seeing, 3 stars, check it out.